A very good morning to you, Lagos, and thank you for staying with us in Smooth 98.1. Right now, you're live on Lagos Talks 981. It's a part of Smooth Breakfast with Ayo.
And Valentine.
And this time, Lagos, you get to talk to us. You get to talk with us because we have not just us in the studio, but we have our guests joining us this morning for a very interesting conversation in the next 15 minutes. And I'll leave Ayo to do the introduction.
All right, so in case you haven't heard or say it a number of times on Smooth Breakfast this week is International Women's Week, because on Friday, the 8th of March, is International Women's Day. This is celebrated globally. Now, if you also follow us on all our social media platforms, you'd also see that we have a Lagos Talk special this morning. And to join us to discuss this, before I introduce our guest this morning, I'll just tell you about the International Women's Day, which is celebrated in many countries around the world every year. This year's theme is Better the Balance, Better the World, Balance, #Balance for Better. And we thought to ourselves, who better to talk about this than women who have, in their own way and in their own space, try to promote gender balance in Nigeria, and dare I say Africa, and to the rest of the world. So our first guest this morning is a lady who needs no introduction. She is a lawyer, broadcaster, so it's interesting to have her on the other side of the microphone this morning, and recently also the author of the book Her Story, the name, I don't want to say the name yet, but it's Her Story, Your Movie, His Glory. She's also the founder of Amputeesunited. It's my pleasure and our pleasure to make very welcome this morning Adenike Oyetunde.
Yay! Thank you. Good morning.
Welcome, Adenike.
Thank you very much for having me.
Our next guest is a lady whose voice you're very familiar with. She's a champion in her own right.
Yes.
She is the founder of Ladies in Sports International, a celebrated sports broadcaster, an all-round fantastic woman. Please, it's our pleasure again to make very welcome Tega Onojaife.
AKA Tega Supreme.
Yes, the African princess. She actually did a
The international traveler. And ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting to see again Lagos, Miss Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. I do not know that we can exhaust the list of accolades that we have for her. She's about to join us in the studio in a few minutes. But Lagos, please do join us because it's very important that you have this conversation with us. Our WhatsApp number for messages alone, our WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. That is 0809 444 0981. But the primary mode of communication is through phone calls.
And that's on 0144 89981. 0144 89981.
So #balance for better. Adenike, I mean, first of all, let's x-ray the challenges that come with the gender, the female gender in Nigeria so far that you've seen.
The challenges, well, I think it's such a wide spectrum, so I would rather just, stick with one. And the theme for this year, which both of you have mentioned, is the fact that one thing that is very clear has been the pay inequality.
Yes.
And this also does flow from last year's theme. And the only story that comes to mind, to me is Mark Wahlberg. Last year, everybody was talking about him because in the movie that he did with Michelle Williams, she earned a little over $500,000, and the guy earned millions. And the whole world was talking. And I remember that women in Hollywood started to talk about, you guys are acting like this is new. This is what has always been. And these are the stories that we hear about. And then when you bring it back home, you actually sit down and ask yourself, when are we going to start having conversations in Nigeria about gender, the gap, disparity?
Yes.
And it's even disturbing because the World Economic Forum, for instance, says that it will take us the next 170 years for that disparity to be even. And I'm wondering, so when are we going to start these conversations? People are scared in Nigeria. Nobody wants to talk about it because nobody's going to want to bring up a conversation of, oh, my colleague is a guy and I just somehow got wind of what he earns. And I am better qualified. I do most of the job. And I feel very strongly that I should be earning, if not the same, slightly higher. It played out in E-News. Everybody saw what happened to Cassandra.
Yes.
And the whole world was, was shaking at the point where she took a walk from E-News. And it was when, how do you take a walk from E-News? Something of that nature. So I'm hoping that this year, this whole balanced conversation that we're having, we will start the conversation about the gender disparity in terms of, as it relates to pay in Nigeria. Because if we don't talk about this, we'll continue to give examples of the people in the abroad.
Amen.
Knowing that these are the things that we face even everywhere.
Yes.
So I'm very, very big on, look, we need to start to have these conversations about pay. How much am I earning? And when the HR people started to talk about it in the abroad, they were saying, we decide what measures, we decide what parameters in determining who earns what and why. But people on the other side are saying, no. Kat Sander, for instance, has been doing all the job. Jason Kennedy just came and she does a lot more than he does. So why is he earning almost 4 times or 5 times what she's earning?
Even when it's clear that Cassandra is so much better at presentation than him.
Preaching to the choir.
Isn't it interesting that the movie in question for Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Williams is called All the Money
All
in
the
the
Money
World?
in the, exactly.
Irony.
All the money in the
Ironic
world.
much? All right, okay, so
it's interesting that she mentioned gender parity because I mean, even though, as you cited World Economic Forum, they have cited that as one of the most fundamental things of factors to how economies around the world thrive. And but if you speak about issues around HR and how they make their decisions, some of them would argue that you find that ladies go on leave more than the men.
That conversation. Don't get
we need more leave.
Don't get me started. See, when this guy, what's his name, Facebook, said he was going
Mark
on paternity leave.
Yes, that started a conversation on its own.
God bless you.
Yes,
and everybody started to say these are conversations we need to have. So if we're saying that we want women to have better opportunities, women need to understand first that nobody is going to hand you any opportunity. You have to fight for it, and you have to shout and talk. They will call you names. They will say, trouble, you like to fight trouble, you're stoking trouble. But we need to talk about it.
They say we're emotional.
Well,
Women
unfortunately, I know quite a number of guys are emotional. So I would rather just deal with people as humans and allow them, throughout their emotions, whatever way it is. That's why we have this generation of men who feel like, someone passes on and people cannot say, you can't cry, you're a man up. So I don't want to even go into that. But the people are now concerned as to whether or not it's the women who become the proponents of these same things we're talking against, i.e., when a woman is working with a female boss, the female boss that, presumably is the one that has, what's your problem? Why why don't you want to come to work? And she doesn't know how to tell her female boss, I have dysmenorrhea, I have acute, that's menstrual pain. And in other places, you get the male bosses, I can't move. People actually take time off in better climes because they have acute dysmenorrhea. But your female bosses say, what are you saying? I've been doing that for how many years? Are you the only one? So these are conversations that we need to talk about, and also understand that there are a lot more women who support their female subordinates than the ones that do not. And we need to change that narrative. I don't know where that narrative came from. If you ask yourself, okay, so what has happened? Your female boss kind of feels like, your child isn't feeling too well. Okay, you may not be able to take the entire day.
So they should be more empathetic.
They have to, everybody, female, male. So these are conversations we need to talk and have if we're talking about equality and balance and better places for women in 2019 in Nigeria.
Yes.
Not
just abroad.
I love the Nigerian context, and I think that would be our central focus in our discussion this morning, because we have a lot of press around what happens abroad, but we are shying away from what actually happens in our own country. But we need to go on a break right now. When we come back, we'll be speaking to Tega. Disparity, we know how much we see that in sports, but beyond that, even the fact that she's working in a male-dominated field and the kind of challenges that she faces and what we could possibly do better in that space as well.
Tega's rolling her eyes, but Lagos could be here.
That's yours?
You already know. I think she was rolling her eyes.
Did you see
Sports is
even in tennis about the cycling story?
There's a big argument around that.
The competition
it's more
and
stressful.
Because they have
the
to
guy
fight, so I find most women
was
actually have to fight harder.
behind. You didn't see that story? Oh
They
my
have to fight
God!
harder
I
to
I don't even know what Serena Williams
That's
has
what the
to
world
go
has
through.
come to.
I don't even know what Serena
I said
Williams.
no, ladies
People
who are
like
participating
Serena
in not just sports, politics, wherever, every endeavor, they almost feel, not almost, they feel like they have to struggle harder.
You
No,
have
no,
to.
no,
because-
they don't feel. You
It's
have
the
to struggle harder,
reality.
it's the reality.
It's the reality. It is. When I was reading what Olakumi said, and
Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I can't
We're live. Please leave your comments.
Oh God.
Leave your comments. Let's
Did you have to fight?
Yes, sir.
Ha, you want to write
So
it?
we're coming back here.
Our amazing sponsors give us more ads.
Our mics are going off now.
So when you hear ladies speak, the world listens and everybody goes quiet. If a lady catches a cold, the world will have a fever. Believe it or not, it's a conversation we have to continue to have. And I'm not saying this just because Ayo has been threatening me over that this whole month should be dedicated to women, but I agree. As we're joined by three amazing ladies, one of them is in traffic and she'll join us pretty soon. That's Miss Ireti Bakare-Yusuf, the founder and No More Movement and broadcaster in her own rights. But we have Tega Supreme, that's our own Tega, broadcaster, sports analyst, founder, Ladies in Sports International, and not forgetting the very amiable Adenike Oyetunde. She's joining us this morning for this wonderful conversation. She's a broadcaster, she's the founder, Amputeesunited, and author of the book Adenike, Her Story, His Glory. Adenike, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much.
All right, so before the break, we're having an interesting conversation.
Yes, we're talking about pay disparity, and
Yes.
Adenike took us through it in detail. But I would like to come to Tega for this next question. Tega, you work in a field that honestly is largely male dominated. Just to, take us through a little bit some of the challenges you face being female in sports, or sports broadcasting to be exact, and how you think people could possibly make it better for you and other women who want to explore this option.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. So the first thing I will say, I will try to tell people is this thing you people think is a compliment. Oh, she's really good for a woman. That is not a compliment. I'm good or I'm not good. Don't say you're the only woman I listen to. Not a compliment. I'm not going to hug you about it. If you see me smile, I'm just being civil. Trust me. And so I get into. Let me tell you a true story.
Yeah.
So I walk into a particular TV station and say I want to do the sports show with them, and then another guy walks in and they say, oh, sit down, and they have a real interview for him. And then for me, it wasn't a real interview. They just wanted to know if I even knew what sports was. So the first question was, what do you even know about the NBA?
Wow.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
So the guy had a real interview, and I had, what do you even know about the NBA?
Wow.
So first of all, I had to even prove I knew that there was such a thing called the NBA.
Okay, so if they had asked it, if they had phrased the question, to make it sound like, what do you know?
Yeah.
But
No,
I didn't even.
If
It just makes it more disparaging.
for me, it's not even. It's the fact that they even asked me that question.
Yeah.
Because I came for the same interview. There's nothing wrong. Before I worked in sports, I worked in the finance sector. I've done interviews. I've been employed. They put myself and the men on the same table, and they asked us the same question. This one was different. They were having a conversation with me to even check if I knew really what I was talking about before the interview, so that they will know whether they should bother.
Yes.
And so you have that the first one is, does she really know sports, or maybe she's hanging out with her boyfriend a lot and then they're watching and then she imagines she knows sports. Number one. Then the second thing that happens in sports is that when you get to a sports desk, they always assume that because you're a woman, you won't be smart, and you won't be able to cover much. They'll be like, oh, send him, he's a man. I need more pictures. I need more interviews. I need more, you know what, Tega, just when you get there, just ask the people on the high table questions. Because there'll be maybe 5 or 6. But the guy is the one that supposedly is going to do all the work. And which is why they also say that they pay the guys more. Because according to them, the guys are smarter, the guys can hustle more, I'm using that word, so they pay the guys more. So those are the things you face. It's a question of you. Then there's also the look for women that play sports.
Yeah.
So
conversation.
which is why Sharapova was earning more than Serena Williams, even if Serena Williams was more successful, because Serena Williams, in quotes, looks like a man.
Look feminine.
So she's too thick, she's too muscular, so she doesn't look like a woman. So I ask this question: what does a woman look like? So if somebody has broad shoulders, you don't know that's a womanly look. She worked for her muscles. I have a friend, Amani, who is a CrossFit athlete. She's put 6 hours a day in the gym so that she can get those shoulders. And you now come and tell her that she doesn't look like a woman. That's what a woman looks like. Women come in different sizes. Some are broad shoulders, some are slim. Some are,
let them here at the back.
There's
Women
no
come in
particular way
different
to be a
sizes.
woman. And so that's also, she doesn't look much like a woman. So we can't use her, which is why sometimes you earn less. Then there's also the moral standard. That moral compass is the biggest one. She's even a, why can you do that? And she's even a woman. No. If somebody does something bad or something good, it should be she's even a human being. Period. And anything that makes the woman anything that makes you hold a woman to higher moral standards is discrimination. Bottom line.
And that's similar judgment is experienced on the streets. Let's take Lagos because we're home, right? And we see that in traffic when a car moves recklessly, first suspicion would be that it's a woman. And then you see the woman behind the wheels and you shout, I can drive myself. So how do you now go and push beyond that because I can't deny as a man that I do not necessarily understand. No, I do not understand the pressure that women face on a daily basis. But where does that put you? How does that make? I know it makes you feel uncomfortable, but how do we push beyond that?
Okay, so this is why I started the Ladies in Sports International, because I said there's a lot of programs where women sit and cry and hold a pity party. Oh, they're not giving us this, they're not giving us that. And like Adenike said, you have to take it. Nobody's giving anybody anything. So the reason why I'm holding the Ladies in Sports International, first, if we bring out your resume, can you compete with your male counterpart? Is the first question I ask, because I understand that yes, they're not giving you enough opportunities, but if I bring out your resume, what do you have with, say, the guy that started at the same time with you? So I've noticed that again, because of this, he's a man, he'd be smarter, he's a man, he'd be able to cover more ground. The men tend to get more exposure than the women. So you will start at the same time in sports, but the men will go for the international tournaments first. But the men will go for the international trainings first. So at the end of the day, the woman is now not just lagging behind in pay, but also in exposure. So she can't even fight for more, for a better life. Yes, and so she can't even fight for promotion. So my first thing I do with Ladies in Sports International is we first educate. We don't come there to cry. We educate through trainings and workshops so that you are equipped for what you want to fight for. Because I always say this, if you are not equipped for what you want to fight for, what they'll use you to do is balance the equality sheet. You know, some people want to say, this table looks so manly, let's just put one woman there. Absolutely. But you're really not having any impact.
Absolutely. And you know, what she just said reminds me of politics in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Also,
quite often you will see someone running for office, presidential, gubernatorial, and automatically know that whoever it is that would deputize will be female.
Yeah.
And very honestly, I was in a meeting recently, one of these political, let's come and hear what we have to say and everything. And I remember telling, incidentally, Cornelia, say, why did they pull out this person from their private life or their practice and bring them on board this particular cause because they wanted to throw and we have a woman, or this woman is actually deserving, is excellent, is competent, and can deliver. After I heard this person speak, I'll be honest, I was still in between. Because at a certain point, I had to tell Cornelia, when would they allow the woman speak? Why is it that it's just this man that is talking? Why is it that it's just this person, the chairman of the political party that is talking? And it's a conversation that we need to have. You can't just put a woman there because you just want to tick it.
I'm glad you said that's a conversation we need to have. And I want to ask you a question. Now, we've talked about tokenism, whereby you put a woman to make up the numbers.
Yes.
Sometimes it's so you want to have 50%, 20% of women. So just bring them in. And then bring the ones that are docile so they won't give us too much trouble. Just bring the ones that won't talk too much, the ones that you can really tame. Now, when we talk about politics and women who go into politics to deputize and have almost like a figurehead position, do you think that women should take on these roles because it gives the female gender a bad name? Because then you say, oh, but we put this woman there, she didn't do anything. she put this woman
It's
there.
almost
She
as if they're
almost
setting,
yes.
as though they're setting them up to fail.
Yes, to
Yeah.
setting them up to fail, thereby even reinforcing the fact that women shouldn't really participate in politics. Let them be women leader. Let them do all those things. So should women actually decline to take on those roles, or should they take on those roles and see them as stepping stones to actually leave a mark and establish themselves?
Should women take up the roles? If you want to and you think you can deliver, why not? I don't want you to take up the role just because. I'll be very honest, because I cringe when people say, oh, Patricia Ete, who was the Speaker of the House of, and so she went there and she stole. I remember that I was in a conversation and I had kept quiet all the time, and I was livid, and I said, excuse you, how many men have taken that position and how many of them still have cases hanging on their heads? What have we done to those men? So don't come and tell me this. There are many more women out there who are doing excellently, amazingly well. If you check the research, they say women have a higher earning power. Why? Because women understand that everything is stacked up against us. So women are going to school, are continuing, are becoming mothers, are no longer pausing their lives like our mothers did. And people are continuing, such that when she's 40, when she's in her late 30s, when she brings out her resume, like Tega said, there is nothing, you can't tell her she's not qualified. Be honest, think about it. A lot of the young women in the banking or financial sector, for instance, if you read what they have done, management consulting, and I'm like, well, please, when did you start going to this school? I'm very serious, because women now understand that, look, if you would not give it to me because I have earned it, I will take it from you.
Yes.
And that's what it's affecting relationships, because a lot of women now have a higher earning power. So they have partners that are just shut down and are defeatist and wondering, oh, why is she earning more? I know a personal story where the woman was not allowed to get a job in court because she took a pause to become a mother. And when she was about to get back, her husband said, no, you can't. I would open a store for you.
Wow.
As I speak to you,
in 2019,
I'm not joking. The story was maybe as far back as 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
As I speak to you, the marriage crashed. And I'm not messing you, in 2 years, she ascended the corporate ladder. I was in awe. And that's simply because she knew her value. And she knew that if this person wasn't going to stick with the fact that, one, I have a higher earning power, making more money than you are, I'm not rubbishing it in your face, but you fail to push me and support me, then I want out. So these are conversations we need to start to have. If you are a woman and you think you're qualified, take the damn job.
All right, we'll take a few comments.
We have comments coming in, but let's remind you that you can send in messages through WhatsApp 0809-444-0981. Please call us on 01-44-89981, because this is a conversation and it involves every one of us, and you Lagos have to speak about the issues raised, especially when it comes to issues of sexual violence. Now, we know that there are few people who have been championing that cause, and they've been facing backlash or either intimidation tactics by maybe government or government agencies. A case in point is not so far-fetched. Miriam Awaisu, who was arrested sometime not so long ago in Kaduna in her office, and Amnesty International released a report saying that her arrest was linked to her fight against, to protect the victims of sexual abuse. And according to UNICEF, there's a data that records that 1 in 4 girls experience sexual violence before the age of 18. In your opinion, would you think the government is doing enough in setting up policies to protect women against that? Tega?
Oh, okay, sorry. You know I'm always talking about sports. When you bring domestic violence, I'm like, was it a boxing match?
Very funny, Tega.
But you see, there's still a lot of conversations that have to do with community, and I will start. And so when you say the government, I want to cover that the government is the people, and so the people have a lot more to be educated about. I remember reading a fight where somebody hit this person, and use your social media intellect now. Actually tweeted that the person should have sorted it out in his house since it's a family matter. I said, no, this is not a family matter. This is a social matter. Take it to the police. It's not that you will call your elders and the others to say forgive him or forgive her. I do know of some cases, even in my family, where they'll say, but what did you do that he hit you? there's no so before we start talking about yes, we also need to talk about laws in place that will do that, but you also have to educate the people that are involved.
Yes.
The society as it's on its own needs to start moving to that level where they don't see it as they don't victimize the victims first.
Yes.
The first thing is you were assaulted, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Then we will deal with this as assault. There's
Yeah.
no, but he's your husband, but he's your brother.
While you're talking about that, I couldn't help but remember Ochaya.
Yes,
Ochaya, who
Ochaya.
suffered sexual abuse for many years. But Lagos will continue this conversation after the break, and Miss Ireti Bakare-Yusuf will join us then. It's Lagos Talks 981 on Smooth Breakfast with Ayo.
And Valentine.
Forgive me. So there was the most evil of all traffic. As in evil, one of those children that certainly wasn't born of a woman kind of traffic. On Ajose, like of all places.
Oh, no,
Me,
Ajose
I'm
can be
Speedy
quite
Gonzalez.
terrible.
Me, from my house to here, I can do it in 3 minutes. That's Ajose.
Oh, yeah.
So what has Ash and Ajose got to do with each other?
Church this morning, like,
But what has Sanusi was clear. By the time I got onto Sanusi free, it was just Ajose. Ajose, I spent 25 minutes on Ajose.
Wow.
I'm telling you, that traffic was not born of a
But
woman.
since yesterday, the traffic was also horrible. I don't know what happened.
But what is it about Ash and traffic? We have to stop blaming
because the thing about it
religion.
is, people would have naturally gone into
People
to the
are
office
going
by
back up
6,
very shortly.
by 6, 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
Now they're
so in
getting to
the
the office by 9. And most,
Well,
that's an
they shouldn't have been on Ajose at 9. They should have cleared it up for me. Those of us who don't know church or mosque.
All right, mics are going up. Studio. All right, welcome back. This is still Lagos Talks 981 here on Smooth Breakfast, Smooth 98.1. And today is a Lagos Talk special with Valentine.
And Ayo.
And we're speaking around the topic of International Women's Day, which is officially on Friday, the 8th of March. But, throughout this week and indeed throughout the month, we are going to be celebrating Women's Day, or Women's Month. Now, before we went on the break, we were speaking to our guests, Adenike, Oyetunde, and Tega, Onojaife. We introduced them earlier on. And joining us during that time is our third guest for today in the press. You know her very well. She's a darling here on Smooth 98.1, Freshly Pressed 981. Miss Ireti Bakare-Yusuf, the founder of No More Movement, a celebrated broadcaster in her own right. Good morning, Miss Ireti.
I'm only a princess because Ayo made me a princess. Really. Can I just apologize? Really, really sorry, Lagos, for the traffic. Sorry to my fellow guests and to you guys.
Thank you.
Yes, Ash, that's what they play. They blame it on Ash, so blame it on Ash. I don't know who he is.
All right, thank you, Miss Ireti. I'm sure you probably have been listening to the conversation, and you can dive right in. The movement, No More Movement, could you tell us a little bit about it and how much work you have been able to do, or the achievements so far, or perhaps the challenges as well?
Thank you. Yes, I have been listening. That's one of the beautiful things about Smooth. You listen to Smooth FM and you forget you're in traffic. But I kept hearing my sisters here talking. I'm like, yes, they're saying everything I would love to say. So it's been brilliant so far. Yeah, No More 234 NG is a movement that I founded early last year, basically as Nigeria's answer to Me Too, because they would always say to me, why is Me Too not taking off in Nigeria whenever I spoke to, Western broadcasters? And I said, because ours is not a case of Me Too, it's a case of No More. That's literally how it started. And because in Nigeria, as Adenike, as Tega would tell you, as most women would tell you, we've been saying Me Too like forever. They just weren't listening. So what have we been able to achieve? Quite a bit, actually, in the short time. So we raise awareness. So the purpose of No More is not only to amplify the voices of women, is also to amplify and augment the works of all the other advocacies within the space, because a lot of people are doing a lot of wonderful work, but people don't know about them. And also because in Nigeria, due to the pressures on us, everybody seems to kind of stand alone without, collaborating. So which is one of the things that No More does. As a result of that, of course, I also write articles, to raise awareness. And most importantly, I created an app. Yes, actually.
Fantastic.
I created an app. The purpose of the app is for survivors, and we don't call them victims. So this is part of what people need to learn. Yeah. They're not victims, they're survivors. It's for survivors to be able to go in there, document their experience and name the perpetrator, as well as get access to help, lawyers, therapists, know where the nearest service center is to you. When I say service center, the advocacy center that you can
Brilliant.
go to, so you don't have to travel, etc. So that's, and we've achieved that. In fact, the app is ready. We hopefully will be launching it by the end of this month. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Amazing. That's amazing.
All right. Well, fantastic work you're doing. And for all our guests this morning, thank you so much for sharing with us. We'll go on a break right now. And when we come back, we'll give you, Lagos, the opportunity to call in, as well as take some of your messages on WhatsApp and on Twitter. This is still Lagos Talk Special here on Smooth 98.1.
Okay.
It was when I was like, oh, no, it was
I know.
we have another. They have to change that thing.
So it's Providus. I always thought it was Providers. I used to wonder, what do they want us to provide them with? Provide us money?
Actually,
Yes. It's,
provide us
Smart
with more.
saying.
it didn't, when you say, I thought it was provide us, not
Yeah.
Providus.
It's very good.
Oh,
Because they only have that one
just
branch,
that one
right?
branch. And I hear
On-
that. I know someone who goes there because of the ATM.
Yes.
That it
They
always
give
gets
clean
clean.
money.
Oh, they do?
Hey,
Okay, that's what we're going to be going to.
Ah,
Everyone I know
Oh,
that
no,
goes there.
because
says
they give
that.
Clean money.
You can tell who hasn't got
If I want shiny
customers.
cash, I'll go there.
You can tell who hasn't got customers,
But you
right?
can imagine that. Are they in Lekki as well?
Yes.
No, no.
The other place that
Okay,
always
we're going
gives
back
clean
on
money
now.
is Zenith Bank.
Yeah, I know.
On Ajose, the Zenith
We're going back
ATM.
now.
No,
Mike's up.
the
Mike's up.
ATM
Mike's
gallery.
up. Mike's up.
The number to call is 0144899981. Lagos, let us talk. We're looking at the issue of gender parity, amongst other things. Now, it's just part of the conversation commemorating International Women's Day for March 8th, this Friday. Lagos, let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Smooth 98.1. Good morning. What is your name, please? Hi.
Hello. Yeah, could you please speak up a bit louder? We cannot hear you. Yeah. Tammy. All right. Hello, Tammy. Good morning.
morning.
Morning,
Good
Tammy.
morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead. Mm-hmm.
on holidays, vacation time, and all this. I believe the gender parity conversation needs to move away, not only live or on the body, the office space, but for all also. Why the writing at home? The only reason why a woman is taking a lot of days off, married or as children, but child sick, school events, and all those things. If the man is equally involved in those things, that time off will be reduced to less than that. Say, for example, in my case, I'm at work, and I'm fortunate because I get to have my different timetable, and my husband and I sit down and discuss who is going for what event. My colleague at work was saying, how come you're not going for that event? Well, why are you letting your husband go? All the time he's always going. Why are you not going?
Queen also.
This is the same colleague that complaining when I take some time off just to perhaps take the kids to the hospital or something. So the conversation has to start with how do you ensure that the involvement at home and at work is something, the conversation between the spouses ensures that the involvement in terms of household things, in terms of children and everything, does not also affect the work. So if that conversation rests only at work, people are people complaining, women keep taking too much time off.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Timmy.
Thank you so much, Timmy. Yep.
Totally agree with that. The conversation needs to start from the community, from the household. That when you talk about what a girl should do, how a girl should dress, what not to do, how a boy is towards a girl. So it goes, if you don't know anything, if you think what you're doing is right.
All right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Timmy. Thank you.
Let's take more calls. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, my name is Alaja. I'm calling from.
Oh,
Okay,
great to have you,
Very
Alajadum.
nice, it's a very nice conversation. However, sometimes the competition is supposed to be healthy, but the woman is supposed to be supportive too. You don't, display those resume in the presence of men. Of course, they are intimidated. They will go to be intimidated. It's a men's war. It's still the men's war. So you don't have to take it. But it's pretty like Tega Spring. Everybody
it's good that
knows
he's
her very well.
Well, we are listening to you. Go on.
Go on.
Yes.
Yeah, Alajadum, we were listening to you.
Yes, and person like Tega, of course, you have to give it up to her because you cannot compete with that. So what understand is that okay? There's other women like that. But you don't have to take it, step by step. And whether a woman should take off, a second field, job or no, it's supposed to be a learning process. You can start from somewhere. Like for instance, the case of politics. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Go on.
You agree with me that Lagos State are grooming ladies or women? You understand? It's the powerful people.
All right.
Over the years, they have had, deputy governors. What stopped them from becoming governors maybe by 2023 and beyond?
All right.
You understand? It's supposed to be a learning process.
Thank you so much.
Gradually, women are taking over. So you should understand, we will resist those attempts, definitely. But that should not deter you guys.
Point.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
honesty.
That's a good
Thank
point.
you. Thank you for your honesty.
Your thoughts, ladies?
I would only say that the thing I agree with him the most is the last thing
The
he
last
said.
sentence.
I mentioned earlier that nobody's going to hand you anything. You must fight for it. And the reality is, because it seems now like the conversation is, let us go in there and take everything from them, they would also want to resist it. So that is what would ordinarily happen. But is that what the result will be? I do not think the result will be that. And this is a part where what Tega was saying about competence, excellence. The moment you now show your quality and the value that you're bringing on board, no matter who puts up a resistance, you will be the one that will get to do the job or fill the space.
It is this sentiment that Adenike just expressed that resounded in many Nigerians' minds, especially when Obiezekwesili stepped down from the race for president ahead of the presidential elections. But you've seen that the conversation continues from there, and certain men might be listening to the show and say, that's why we're saying, when we put them in that, give them that opportunity, they don't use it well. Yeah. But what is your reaction to
I'll bring in a point here when we're talking about gender parity and we're actually talking about balance, which is actually the theme for this year. Here's something most people don't know. Do you know, as a female, I can marry a foreigner and I am not allowed to make him a Nigerian? But you, Valentine, as a man, you can marry a foreigner, a non-Nigerian, and immediately she can file her papers and become a Nigerian citizen. Now, how's that for inequality? So you can't, my point is, we are still playing lip service. We are still playing lip service to gender parity, equality, all in all. And it's all very perfunctory. It's all, like you said, a matter of allowance. They keep thinking we're allowing you, we're building you. When they talk about female empowerment, often in government and politics, they say, oh, give them money to start a market, help them do business. No, some of us want to be taekwondo specialists. Some of us want to be, not even have a business, actually. We may just want to be a housewife who has a right and can choose to do whatever it is she wants to do, whenever she wants to do it.
Yeah, so this thing you said about we're still doing lip service, they say it's a deliberate act. What they call that act in the... I know that the reason why I know about the UK one is because they implemented it at FIFA, where it is a deliberate process. Like they wake up in the morning and decide, how do we pick women that are competent to run these things?
Is it positive action?
It is, yes.
Affirmative
action. Yes.
It is deliberate. It is... They sat down and they decided we don't have those deliberate acts in Nigeria,
and that's what we need.
And I say this even especially again in sports, and we come back to money because
Super Falcons.
Money matters. Yeah, I kid you not.
Yes.
So Super Falcons earn $5,000 per win. the men earn $10,000.
Sometimes 20.
They are playing the same
You
football.
promise by
And
state
yes,
government
we do better in terms of winning
Look,
cups.
I understand when it comes to, again, I understand certain things about how much does women sports bring in versus how much does men sports bring in. And those kind of things may determine sometimes hospitality for different teams. It may also determine sometimes sponsorship for different teams. But if the NFF is heading both teams, pay them the same amount of
Exactly
money.
what I was going to say. Isn't that a
Is that simple? Is one thing for those other things are added ons.
But I will even go to
The basic must be the same.
extend what
just
Tega
before
is
we take
saying.
more comments, sorry, we
Hold
have
that
to go on
thought.
a break. Hold that thought, Miss Ireti. We'll come back to you once we come back from this break.
Station Smooth 98.1. Love music.
So when you're negotiating with your Nike or all these people, when they negotiate and they negotiate for the men's sports, actually, you can actually join them together.
Exactly.
You can join them
It's
together. That's what I was
not
going to say.
rocket science.
It's not hard. You just say, you know what?
If the men
You're
are
going to
posing for
sponsor the
picture with a Nike
Nigeria
jersey, why can't they
football,
join
whatever
those
it is,
two?
NFF.
Let me answer.
Is it NFF?
They are joined.
You see? Yeah, somebody
They are
chooses.
just-
Well, who do we see?
Exactly.
No,
Yeah,
no,
somebody
they are
chooses to
joined.
pay
They are
somebody.
just added ons again.
See, it's the same thing with Hollywood.
Yeah.
The same management
Yeah.
that works for the
Yeah.
for the
This person,
guys.
yeah.
They're
Yes.
managing, but then you wonder why am I getting?
Yes.
Also, is
Yes.
it also because the person would rather pay more for a man than a woman? Because sometimes you also play to the guy. If the person or the dictator of the tune or the player of the piper dictates the tune. So if he says that, well, I'm interested in guys, I see guys as being more viable than women's sports or women.
That's what they say. Yeah,
thing. So,
Like
I
when
told
you
you,
mentioned
yeah.
who brings in, who watches.
Sammy,
It's like what? It's like
So
Yeah,
one
but
last thing I'd
you
like us
have to
really touch
invest
on.
effort
Yeah.
into ensuring that more people watch
Watch,
women's football,
yes.
women's
Yes.
sports. full
How do
stop.
we-
Not doing at the
And that's what
moment.
they're doing abroad.
Yeah. So one last thing we'd like us to touch on before we go is what the government.
The politics part. Okay, we'll talk about women.
We
Obi,
did them. So
yeah.
policies. So actually,
Yeah.
solution.
Yes.
So this last 10 minutes
Segments.
solution. Yeah, solution. What can we do better? What are the things I want to see next year? So we'll touch on Ms. Ireti's comment and then we'll go to the policies.
I
and all
cringe
the
when I
messages.
hear someone boldly
What
say,
messages?
"I will
Oh,
give
great.
5%
Oh,
of
great.
my cabinet to women."
Okay,
Are you
so-
joking?
Are you kidding me? It's
Why
supposed
you-
to be 23%. Is it not 23%? It's supposed to be 23%.
So
actually.
we have 8 minutes more,
Okay.
when we come back from the break. 8 minutes more. So we'll just do comments on
WhatsApp.
6 minutes on WhatsApp. Read a few comments on WhatsApp, then come back to you and then do the policies.
Solutions,
Yes.
yeah.
So very quickly, each person would give solutions.
I think the world will grow faster. Even Nigeria will progress faster if we include women.
Oh, I'm back on. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mike.
Lagos, this is a question from a man. I mean, if we describe Nigeria as she,
Actually, countries are described
do,
as
yeah,
she.
they do.
if our
she.
country is
It's the female noun
described
that's
as she,
used.
does that contradict your statement that this world is a man's world? But just something to think about as we take your messages and your calls. Remember that this is Lagos Talks 981 special, a conversation around the International Women's Day that will be celebrated on Friday, March 8th, when we have a special guest joining us this morning.
Yes, we have Tega Onojaife, founder, broadcaster, and founder of Ladies in Sports International. We have Miss Ireti Bakare, founder of No More Nigeria, and also broadcaster as well. And of course, we have Adenike Oyetunde, broadcaster and founder, Amputeesunited also.
All right, Lagos, let's take your calls on 014489981.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Okay. Good morning. Please
All right,
go
you're
ahead.
fine. Go ahead, please.
If women can take that bold step and keep moving, trust me, all these gender things we're talking about will not even exist.
All right.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Ifeanyi.
Ifeanyi.
Thank you. All right, let's take some comments from WhatsApp.
Muyiwa here says, is there any data to support gender pay parity in Nigeria? Because honestly, I do not think we have that problem here.
Wait,
That's what he said. It's not done with the message. I'll read the rest.
Sorry.
Of it. It says, where I have
Easy,
worked,
ladies.
everyone on a level is paid the same. No recourse to gender. So there's empirical evidence. I do not think it exists.
That's what one of the biggest problems that we have as a people is we do not have data to support a lot of these things. And what usually happens is Tega will take the 10 women closest to her, ask them these questions, and then sum up her own observation. I will do the same thing. And until we sit down and we realize that, look, until we have this data, we can't do this. But the reality is, out there, my question to you, sender of the message is,
Muyiwa.
how many people, Muyiwa, work in environments like yours, where everybody earns the same thing as you have painted it? The truth is, it is very, very, very minimal.
I can tell you categorically in sports, it doesn't happen.
There you go.
Let's not even.
So what are we saying about it? I need to, for me, I think we need to sit back, understand that we need data to move forward. Until we have the data, until we have the things that we're dealing with, we'll just continue to be emotive and talk, and everybody, we're not forging ahead. But the reality is, if we want to move forward, we need to understand that as women, nobody's going to hand you anything. You must literally break down the doors to take the things that you deserve, things that you have worked for, and the things that you have earned. Then the men or society, whatever it is, will probably not want to willingly give it up. And the reality I talked about the pay again is, you need to understand that it is not a personal fight. It is what is and what has continued to be. The World Economic Forum is saying that it will take 170 years. This is in developed climes. Now imagine how much longer it will take us.
Nigeria.
Though slowly, I'm sure that conversation, like Ms.
Slowly
Ireti
but
was
surely.
saying, is we need to have these conversations now.
Where should it start, Ms. Ireti? Especially, I mean, we know we're living in a highly patriarchal system in Nigeria. So where should it start?
And could you please tie it in, sorry, Mr. Ireti, to what the government can do, policies that you'd encourage to be passed to help with gender parity in Nigeria?
Okay, so first and foremost, I think the only thing, the gentleman that called about Tega, he's right about something, and I think Adenike touched on it earlier, is I really refuse to see gender anymore. I really don't. I don't care whether you say you only want a man. Prove to me why it can't be me. And I think we need to start challenging the norms in that way. And so where does it start? It starts with each and every one of us. It starts from our homes. It starts from the way we bring up our boys, which is very different from the way we bring up our girls. So I have a boy child, my son. Throughout, and he's questioned me about this whole feminism thing. You can imagine having a mother like mine, and sister and aunties, and his godmother is also a feminist, etc., etc. And once I called him, I made him to come and watch Black Girls Rock, which is on TV with me, and being the teen Black Girls Rock, which is on TV with me, and being the teenager that he really wasn't interested, but I made him watch, and he said to me, he said, "Mommy, why is it always Black girls rock? What about us? Do Black boys not rock?" Which was a very good question, but a very simple one from the heart of a child. And I think he meant it. So what I said to him is, I said, look, you do rock, but for a long time, it's always been about boys. So imagine your sisters. It's time, he has half sisters. So it's time we actually start to celebrate what your sisters have been doing. And I brought it home in that way. And he was able to sort of understand it. And that's the thing. We as individuals, parents, and I'm talking both the father and the mother, we need to bring up our children the same way. So boys are told, they're never told, cross your leg, don't sit like that, don't wear that,
Always
don't jump
smile.
on that tree. It's always the guy,
smile.
don't
Always
behave,
smile.
always smile.
Yeah,
You'll
going
never
to
find a
husband's
husband.
house.
Something, and you'll be going to your husband's house. Soon enough, you'll be going now. Join me, don't go. I always used to say to all my nannies, if my son wants to be in the kitchen, let him be in the kitchen. Don't you dare wash his plate for him. Don't you dare lay his bed for him, because he's going to try it. Whether he's a boy or not, he's going to try it. It's my job to make sure he actually doesn't get away with it.
That's right.
The fact that he's a boy. But you talk about government very quickly. So everybody talks about the fact that Kwesile dropped out, etc., etc. And it's unfortunate that happened, because irrespective of whether you were going to vote for her or not, it was good to have a woman in that race. And we had what you need to realize is at the beginning of the election last year, we had, I think, 27 women or so in the race, and they all slowly dropped out. One of the things that I would say very, very quickly, and I've said this on TV before, and it seems inconsequential, but it has a lot of consequence. Political meetings are held at night. I have been invited, and I just say, get off my phone. What am I coming there for a meeting at 11 o'clock? Who wants to come? Exactly. So for as long as political meetings are held at night, you know, you will continue to actually, I should say, barrier women outside of that conversation. That's just a very, very, very simple, you know, example.
Thank you. We have a message on YouTube. Ernest Okenwa, as we wrap up the show. Ernest Okenwa sent us this message. Say, hello, guys. We need to support our women, girls, and all the ladies. I give Tega up high for her field. Hello, Superwoman Adenike. And thank you. We have more messages on WhatsApp. This one is from Lucky from Ido Martin. It says that inequality exists. Because we live in a chauvinistic world. Someone like Hillary Clinton lost the American presidency just because the fingers aren't equal. Our commander-in-chief was relegated, or has relegated is better off to the other room. Women are burden bearers while men are supposed to till the ground. The song that says man was made to suffer while woman was made to feel the pain has come into manifestation. And he adds that Ezekwesili was the best candidate in the last elections, but are we ready for that?
All right, what's a big question there, and a big thank you. Unfortunately, we cannot take this conversation further, but don't forget that conversations. Oh, sorry, I mean on here, on Lagos Talks 91 for today. Yes. But I was going to say that there are conversations continuing throughout this week and throughout this month, you know, with regards to International Women's Day and Balance for Better. If you'd like to follow our guest this morning, please by all means do so. Could you please tell us your handles?
Okay. On Twitter is Adenike Oyetunde. On Instagram is at Adenike Oyetunde and AdenikeOyetunde.com.
All right, fantastic.
Well, Sisioge Lagos on Twitter and Instagram, and now at least Adenike also has this thing for the love of white trainers. You all know I wear my white trainers. She hasn't featured me yet, so today that photo must to go.
Tega,
thank you so much.
Tega Supreme on Twitter.
Only.
All right, Lagos, thank you so much. You can follow Valentine at Valentine Ohu on Instagram, at Valentine_Ohu on Twitter. You can follow me.
Ayo Mairo Ese.
And follow us at Smooth 981 FM. Thank you so much. See you again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We do this every Monday to Friday here on Smooth 98.1.